Everybody, thank you for joining us again for another episode of the Pursuit of Purpose podcast. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And today we are joined by
Jarrod Meehan.
Jarrod Meehan. Well, Jarrod and I have a lifelong connection. I have been very privileged and honored to be his friend since I think about the fifth grade.
Wow.
As best I can remember. I've gotten to be coached by his dad. I've gotten to play sports with Jarrod. And, we experienced most of our schooling together. So I consider him to be one of my close friends and an honorable man. So I'm very excited to have you on the show with us.
Yes.
Look forward to sharing your life and your journey with our audience. So with all that being said, where were you born?
Beaumont, Texas.
Beaumont, Texas. So in Beaumont, at the time of your birth, there were, I believe, 3 hospitals. There was what was referred to as MASH. Do you remember that?
I don't.
Well, you remember the name.
I do.
And then there was Baptist and St. Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
Which one were you born in?
Baptist.
Baptist. Okay. So did you grow up your entire life in Lumberton?
I did.
You did? So you were one of those very fortunate few that got to start and finish school, all the 12 grades in one school district.
That is correct.
That is amazing.
Yep.
That is amazing. So do you think that was in your life, looking back on it, was it a positive thing or did it matter?
Oh, it was a positive thing. I loved Lumberton School District, and definitely changed a lot since then. But no, I absolutely loved it. Love the people.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
It allowed you to have those strong, lifelong connections with people that you really got to know. You really got to see their character develop, and as yours was at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what was home life like for you as a child?
I had my parents were divorced, so I had 2 great homes. All of my parents and step parents just so happened to get along great. We actually even went to the same church, sat together. It was really nice of them to provide that for all of us, and it helped a lot. The co-parenting and all that was really great. So had a great home life and all that. Can't complain.
That's impressive. It's a rare thing to find people so mature that they realize the priority of the child. So they honor the child by learning to co-parent even after the divorce.
Right.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
so was it just you, or did you have siblings involved in a lot of that?
Well, I have a half brother and I have step siblings.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
So blended family. Were y'all close?
Mm-hmm. Still are.
Still close. Okay. Very good.
And my brother, David from David Cluck.
Yep.
So we all graduated together. So yeah.
Good people.
Absolutely.
Y'all all come from good stock and a good home.
Yeah.
We ask these questions of every guest, and for you, this is particularly fun because after the fact, I might actually get to rib your dad a little bit when I see him. At the Lumberton Hangout, the Walmart. Everybody goes there to see everybody else, and I see him probably, I don't know, once a month or maybe a little less than that. But so, what was discipline like in your childhood home? Did you catch a lot of whoopings?
My dad whipped me twice. David and I, 2 times is all it took. One time was not our fault, and one was. The other time was we were I guess we were about to go to church, I think, and they told us not to get dirty. David and I and my stepsister Karen, she with the appropriate name, Karen, she pushed us in the ditch right before we left, and there we, he didn't ask any questions, so we still give him grief about that. because it was, it's Tim, man. He's the big scary Tim Meehan. He's gentle as all get out, but man, he's a big man.
He
Gold Gloves
definitely,
boxer and all that.
yes,
So,
and he definitely seemed when we were kids. He seemed larger than life.
yeah,
The big voice that he's got and the presence that he has. He was relatively intimidating.
Sounds like it.
And he utilized that as a baseball coach, and helping to let's say develop character in us young men.
There you go. Well, explains why he, according to Jarrod, he only gave 2 whippings. That's all it took. After that, it was pure intimidation. After that,
absolutely.
So, no, that's awesome. That's a good dad. I like that. Yeah.
So, as you were growing up, what did your dad do for a living? What was his profession?
He was a carpenter, and he's semi-retired, still doing that. But he started his own company in the early '80s, and Meehan Construction, and actually just shut the company down about 3 years ago.
He might shut the company down, but you'll never shut the man down.
No, he is. You can't stop him. But I also learned that same trade coming up, working with him, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
No.
He really made us work very hard, and where it made us work through every step of the process. We didn't get to skip over anything. In fact, it was probably harder on David and I. So, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I'm going to speculate that helped develop your character and helped you learn the value of ambition.
Absolutely. Blood, sweat, and tears, man. Just really, working in the hot summers, and we didn't really know what summer breaks were and winter breaks were. We worked, and it definitely builds character. And
Yes.
I can see the difference in a lot of folks today that didn't have that same type of upbringing. So
that's no joke.
Right.
Those who were brought up in a more coddling atmosphere and a less challenging childhood, they grow up to sometimes tend to believe that it's owed to them.
Mm.
Yeah, much like my kids, but no.
Yes, I'm the same. I'm guilty of that same pattern, and it makes me feel bad for them. But in the moment when you were doing it, you thought, "Man, I'm going to give them a better life than I had." But we didn't realize that the life we had is the reason we're the way we are.
Yeah,
that's right.
We kind of snatched that out of them, and I don't think we did them any favors. But I'm absolutely guilty, just like you are, and so many of our generation. But it's in cycles. There will come a time where the X comes back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so as a kid, say when you were, I don't know, 13, 14 years old, what did you dream of being? What did you want to become?
Man, that's hard to say. There is the thing about me is especially when I ended up when I was in college. I remember a psychology teacher telling me that I needed to join the military because my mind did not have the discipline to land on one thing. I wanted to do so many different things between, being a firefighter or a medic but also even construction. I love to build things. And then also a musician, right? So I never could land in one spot as far as a career went. It was pretty tough. And I know that you and I a couple of years ago spoke about this, about what do you want and what do you think you need in life. And it was pretty tough for me to work through, and it has been my entire life because the way my dad brought me up is whatever I set my mind to, I'll just go do it. And I'm not saying I'm the most talented guy in the world or anything like that. It's just,
you mentioned that it was really hard for you to focus, or hard for you to pick one thing and stick with that. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because it's important for people all over the place, our generation, any generation, to know that's normal.
Right.
That's actually not, that's not unique to you.
Right.
No.
To me.
No. It's not a bad thing either.
Anyone, and that's absolutely normal. That just means that you're not lying to yourself, first of all, that you're able to, that this is what's actually happening.
Right.
And that you're not going to blind yourself to thinking you're stuck with one direction.
Right.
I actually see that as a positive attribute.
Right.
Yes, it can be. You can struggle with it in careers and things like that, because it doesn't necessarily allow you to build a lot of tenure if you're constantly hopping from one thing to another.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a fact. And I don't know if you and I got this far in our discussions previously, but I will say this, something that I find very important. It was important to me in my life, and finding the pursuit of my purpose, is to realize that the desires of your heart, the true desires of your heart, are actually your divine connection.
Yes.
The things that, if we can allow ourselves to be humble and listen to what our innermost self says it wants to do, that's your true connection to God.
Yeah.
Because he put those desires there to show you what he built you for.
That's absolutely right.
Yep.
And so many times we ignore that voice, that inner part of us that says, I want to do this, because we think we're supposed to do whatever else it is.
Right.
Because everybody else in our life has told us, well, you need to go get a job at a plant, right? Because that's where we live. You need to go get a job at a plant and get good benefits and make X number of dollars and get yourself an X amount of debt. And then this is what normal people do.
Right.
That's so right. So right.
But it's not the right thing to do.
No.
And I don't mean that we should live in a fantasy world, but your heart's desire is part of your purpose.
Right.
So I'm proud of you for that. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a lot of. It doesn't really matter what we choose; it's what we bring to it. So we all know people who got to go a little further with sports, or got to go a little further with certain things, and maybe the reason they made it is because they had a work ethic. Maybe the reason they didn't is because they didn't have a work ethic. They just came lucky to them, and then they burned out, and they don't understand why they burned out. I said, because you didn't bring a work ethic to it.
Right.
If you'd have done that, if you'd have treated it like a job and not some privilege, not like you're gifted beyond others. Well, lots of people are, and I don't have a lot of tech skills, but I'm glad there are people who do, and I'm willing to pay them.
Yeah, I think it's accepting your own uniqueness, I guess, would be the best thing the best lesson I've ever learned in my life. I can remember my dad taking me to Nashville as a young musician. I was probably 19 years old. And one of the best things I ever learned, I was on the way there. He said, son, you're good where you're at. You're great, your voice, all the things. But where we are going, there will be people laid in the ditch that'll be 30 times better than you ever thought about being.
Ooh.
And man, was he ever right. And that was a great lesson to learn. It does, but even still, my own uniqueness was what I brought to the table, and that's what we have, and that's what if you don't accept that, then you're constantly chasing what Robbie said about what everybody else tells you to go do, and that's never going to be good enough. And then we pass that to our kids, and that's just like poison. You might as well hand them a cup of poison. It's ridiculous. So, accepting what God gives us and and moving forward with that.
Well,
Good words.
You offered up some very profound advice that was a perfect segue into my next question. So, being as close to you as we are, or as I am, I have personal knowledge of your life and everything. If you would, talk about your struggles, the things that you've been through that have been most difficult. I can assure you, you are not unique in that either. And that your story
Right.
about that is very much going to bless somebody.
Right. So, you know, I've struggled with a lot of things in my life. Some depression, um, obviously, you know, like the rest of half the country, or probably more, divorce, splitting of a family, which was, for me, was about, I believe, 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Pretty rough time in my life. To go through that, to experience what your children have to feel, and try to help them understand that it's not their fault, that it's yours. Through that, for a very long term of my life, I began to drink alcohol, and through my depression, I began to self medicate with that alcohol, and so I am an alcoholic. I've been sober over 5 years now, and um, there hasn't been a better choice that I've made in my life than that one right there. Um, for me, that's just for me individually, and that's I was, I think I was probably a day or two from being dead. I was literally about to die. My body, I believe, was shutting down. Um, and just almost drank myself to death.
Mm.
And that was, that right there has probably been the hardest struggle that I've ever had in my life. Um, I can remember right before I quit drinking, I took my son to a Mercy Me concert in Beaumont, and we ended up sponsoring a child through World Vision, and um, so I can honestly say, at that moment in my life, that was literally a couple of weeks before I quit drinking, that it was, God was hitting me in so many different directions about what I needed to be as a father. And I think, as far as guilt goes, the thing that I've struggled with the most in my life is failure wise, is, even though I was at every practice and every game, I wasn't really there. You know, I was drinking, or I was thinking about it, and everything that I did in my life revolved around that. Everything that I scheduled, and that's what I see in our society today, amongst many of my friends. That breaks my heart, is that we schedule things around our addictions, and if we can't have our addiction wherever we go, we just don't go, and we include our kids in that. So if we couldn't drink, we didn't go. We never took our kids to a place that we couldn't drink, and um, so I struggled with that. um, I've been through all the steps of and stages of all the guilt and the self pity and all the stuff that goes along with that. Uh, Through that, I believe, came my greatest strength, and that is to help somebody else live and not die from that terrible disease. And it's, you know, my dad taught me at a young age to. This is, again, this is kind of like alcoholism. This is just for me, right? Um, to replace the word proud with grateful. And I, to this day, I still struggle to use the word proud. And it's, again, it's just for me. I know a lot of people. You said it earlier. You're proud of me. And it's okay. It's great. But the truth is I'm just grateful. I'm not proud of myself. I'm literally just grateful for the opportunity to learn and live, and then to help other people through that struggle. So
I like the way you put that. I like the way your dad taught you that, because a funny thing about that description of the word proud and the use of it is, when I say that, I actually mean I'm grateful at the same time. Like, when I tell you I'm proud of you, I'm grateful and proud of the choices that you made to preserve yourself, your story, and your legacy by putting that down. So I like that. That's a profound piece of wisdom right there.
It is. Yeah. There's a difference between the words proud and pride.
Absolutely.
And I know, I appreciate the humility. I really do, Jarrod. But I mean, it took a lot of work, took a lot of commitments, permanent commitments, to get from where you are to where you wanted to be. And that's. And I mean, there's lots of reasons that you were invited to come on and tell your story, y'all's legacy as a friendship notwithstanding. But Rob shared a little bit about just some of those commitments that you made and the success that's come from that, and that is part of the reason. And thank you for walking us through a bit of that, and about how something so easy as a common thing like alcohol can get a hold to us, and easier than people think, just because it's everywhere. It just seems like it's we can easily pass it by. Well, sometimes it gets that hook in us, and there it is. It could be anything. It could be cigarettes. It could be, candy. I mean, it could be anything. And, and
not to diminish your struggle with alcohol at all.
Indeed. Yeah. And you referenced, hopefully get to hear a little bit more about some of the other cause and effects. I think you said it caused some health problems and things. But we'll hear more about that in a minute for sure. But I'm glad folks are hearing this, because there is hope if they will just keep to it.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go against what your dad taught you a little bit, and you can tell him that, because I'm 48 now. He can't whip me no more. He can't. He can't make me run laps.
You sure?
I'll just get away from him. I'll just hide.
I mean, once a mountain of a man, always a mountain of a man. You take the risk, buddy.
I'm too big to put over his leg, and I'm too old and fat to run laps. So he could whip me with his mind, and that would be fine.
Sound like he could whip you with a look.
He does have that look, and he can look at you in a way where you want to say, "I'm sorry."
Whatever you thought even if I didn't know I did it, I knew I did something.
Well, what I want to say is that I'm proud of you for making the choice to submit to a greater plan for your life. I'm proud of you for that. And I'm grateful for you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm grateful for you as a friend, as a person, as a man, as a source of inspiration. So I can say with confidence, and I think your dad would actually agree with what I just said. He would say the same thing. I think he would actually use the word proud in that way, and because it's healthy.
Absolutely.
So I hope that you accept that. I hope that you.
I absolutely do. Thank you for that.
So you have another struggle that you've recently dealt with that is not the same at all. I mean, it's potentially related to some after effects of that, potentially, but you just endured something, and I'd like you to talk about it and how you discovered it, and why you're sitting at home right now instead of at an office on a work day.
Right. Right. So, about 6 years ago, I had gone in for a routine checkup, and it was actually just before I'd chosen sobriety. I had a EKG reading at my regular doctor. It had a little blip on it, so they wanted to do an echo and on my heart, and they found that my heart was swollen, and And so they sent me to a cardiologist in Beaumont and um, did a stress test, another echo, and they found that I had a valve that was leaking. Um, and it was because of a calcium deposit, is what they said at the time, that didn't allow my valve to close. And um, what they didn't tell me at the time, that I would later find out here recently, was that I was born with a quadricuspid aortic valve.
Boy, that's a
That
big fancy word right there.
Right.
Thank God they didn't tell you that early,
right, because I wouldn't have understood it 6 years ago. No. Ironically, not to get too far ahead, I had quit drinking, so the swelling of my heart had gone down, and they said that the leaky valve was just moderate; it wasn't severe, and they would just monitor it. But they did tell me that it may have to be replaced one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to interrupt your story or derail you, but
Yeah.
I do want to ask, for those of you in the audience that may be curious, how did drinking affect swelling like that? How did that correlate?
So alcoholism is definitely attributes to the swelling of the heart. And if you have any other issues with your heart, it just multiplies it, amplifies it. And so I forget exactly the term that's used that correlates with alcoholism and the swelling of your heart, but it is something that happened when I did quit drinking. The swelling of my heart immediately came down, and it got within normal parameters.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was
that's the thing that people, your average everyday Joe, doesn't think about that
right
at all, ever. Never even crosses a person's mind.
Right.
Truly amazing too, because it makes your heart work about 5 times as hard to pump blood through your system. And so, well, so it's pretty neat the way that everything kind of transpired as far as my belief in God goes, because I've been through several different jobs, and I had to, over the years, I with COVID and all the things that were happening there, layoffs and things, you lose insurance. And so you don't go to the doctor, this and that. Well, I didn't go for about 2 years. And um, fast forward to now, where I had a new job. Just so happened to pick, I don't know what drove me to do it. I do now, but I just picked the absolute best plan I could find. It's the most expensive one. And I just said, to heck with it. I'm going to do it because I feel like I need to have some tests run. I'm not as old as you, Robbie, but no, I'm just kidding. But, but all the things we have to have done at our age, all the tests that we have to have done at our age and things like that. So I knew a lot of that was coming up. Well, when I went in for an echo, I went to my cardiologist in Beaumont, and they actually had misdiagnosed some things, but they saw that the valve that they had seen previously was leaking severely, that it basically wasn't closing at all. They didn't tell me again that it was a quadricuspid aortic valve, which, just to explain that, people that are born with a birth defect on the aortic valve is usually a bicuspid, so it has 2 doors instead of the normal 3, or 3 flaps is what they would call them. But I was born with 4. There's only been 300 to 400 cases of that reported since the mid 1800s.
Well, of course. I mean, if you're going to do anything, you're going to be extreme with it.
I'm going to be very unique. Absolutely.
Overdo everybody else.
I do not believe in the just being average. So, so anyhow, so they just told me that the stem above the aortic valve had also was basically having an aneurysm. So that was going to have to be repaired, and that my aortic valve would have to be replaced. it was scary enough 6 years ago, but it also contributed, much like the Mercy Me concert and the sponsoring of the child, to set an example for my kids. It also scared me enough to
Right.
to move me in the direction of saving my life. How ironic is that? And um, so now it was time, and I don't even know how to explain um, the fear, the anxiety that comes with knowing that now it's really time for them to stop my heart from beating and replace this stuff for 8 hours. They told me that it was an 8-hour surgery and I would be on bypass. And, the only thing I could think of was my kids and the people that I love, and all of y'all, everybody that I finally taught myself how to play guitar, and and I'm finally out there playing music again, the things that I loved, and here I am, uh, could possibly be leaving this world,
Mm.
and but I also looked at the path that I had to travel to get to there, and it just wasn't the end. There was just no way, and so because I wouldn't have been through all the twisting and turning of jobs and the alcoholism and the way that everything flowed, and then the picking of the insurance that I did and all the things that were happening in my life, if God was not going to allow me to continue to be here. And so I had to have faith in that, but I also just had to accept the fact that no one is promised tomorrow or the next moment, and every beat of my heart and every breath that I take is His to give.
That's right.
So,
Yeah. Thank you.
so that's, so 4 weeks ago, they stopped my heart and they put me on bypass, and they, put a new aortic valve. I went with a bovine valve, a cow valve, so that later on they can insert two more valves through my leg. And I wouldn't have to be on blood thinners for the rest of my life if because that's the only other route that I could have taken was the mechanical valve.
So beef is
But
not just what's for dinner.
that's right. So that's exactly right, man. I'm 4 weeks past
that maybe your dad said you were bullheaded. He meant that.
Oh, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Man, that is as much of a spiritual journey as it was a physical. Listen to that. Wow. That's amazing. That's a testimony. As I know thank you for giving us a platform to help you share it. And I know you're sharing it with others as well.
I've got something to drop into you here, Jarrod. And I know that you'll understand this as well as anyone, but there is nothing in this life, nothing on this earth, nothing that we can come in contact with that's worth anything, yet let alone precious, that doesn't require trial for it to become valuable.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
My friend, you are living proof that you, sir, are precious.
Thank you.
And I mean that in every way. And I believe that God is showing you just how valuable you truly are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Even like gold, when it's found in its raw state, isn't worth anything. It just has potential.
Yeah.
A diamond in its origin is just a piece of coal.
Yeah.
It's not worth anything until it goes through the process of being, undergoing enormous pressure and strain. It's how everything is.
Yeah. This was definitely the hardest, most painful thing I've ever had to go through. But man, when I came out on the other side, it was really something. I don't even know. I don't have the words for it to explain it,
So I did want to ask you about that. I've been thinking about it a lot, leading up to this talk we're having now. And I've got two questions about that. Number one, what was your final thought before you fell asleep? Your final coherent thought. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Hard to keep it together on this. It
That's
was my
okay,
kid.
man.
It was my kids, and not wanting it to be the final goodbye on this earth.
Yeah.
So that was it. That was my final thought before they put me under. And
well, I hope they get to see this to understand their value to you. I really do. I hope they get to hear this. That's important.
It may sound a little dramatic, but it sounds like your final thought was one of love and not of fear.
Yeah.
And that was all. That's awesome. That is beautiful.
Yeah. It
So
was
then
absolutely
on the
that.
side, when you came to and realized, hey, I made it. When your eyes open and you regain consciousness and you realized, I'm still on the earth.
They let me stay.
Yeah.
Thing that you can remember thinking.
And of course, I don't want to put any fear in the mind of someone that has to go through this. But I remember waking up with the tube down my throat, and I was fighting it. I had my hands chained to the bed, but honestly, the truth is I was in so much pain when I woke up that I was scared that my heart was going to fail because I was in so much pain. And I literally thought, I mean, the thought was going through my mind, there's no way I can go through this again. There's no way. And it was, unfortunately, the hospital didn't have my pain level under control. And it took them about 2 or 3 days to actually get that under control.
Wow.
The younger you are, the harder this surgery is, because you have more muscle tissue and all that kind of things that just, because they split your chest wide open. So, as much as I would love to say I was, oh, thank you, God. No, it wasn't at all like that. It was
I just want the truth. I don't want anything.
God, I think I'm about to come see you. So,
well, on that note, up until this point, and obviously looking into the near future, what is the recovery process for something like this? What are they prescribing that you'll be having to go through?
So right now, the recovery process is, I try to walk at least about a mile a day. I have to keep my heart rate down under about 115. My heart was, the valve that was bad was basically kind of wide open. So blood was constantly regurgitating back into my heart. My heart had begun to swell again because it was working so hard to pump blood. Now with the new valve, they explain it as your body just basically got hit by a train and it doesn't know what's happening. And so they put the new valve in and it's working properly. But your heart is saying, what the heck, I was doing fine. I was swollen up. I was working hard and now I'm not having to. So it's a process of your blood pressure is a little different. Your pulse is different. Things, everything's different.
Yeah.
And everything kind of still hurts. But working through that, you can't lift. Like I'm not supposed to lift anything over like 5 pounds with each arm. So that's kind of rough, can't drive. So I'm stuck here with you guys, which is great. We can do this every day.
Are some of those restrictions for now or like later? Could you return to maybe some light lifting or something like that?
I can return to life as normal, honestly. Absolutely.
If you wanted to, what's the length of time for this part of the recovery?
So for this part of the recovery, they say it takes 8 weeks for your bones to actually fuse back together.
Yeah.
A minimum of 8 weeks. I have stainless steel wire around my sternum holding me together. So
and that wire will stay there.
Yes. Yeah. I don't get to, keep it or melt it down or anything, but
So you're literally held together with baling wire.
that's it, man. That's it. They,
That fixes
Yeah,
anything.
it fixes
Man.
anything.
Right.
I fix your truck, fix your chest.
little duct tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, after about 8 weeks, I'll go back to my cardiologist in Houston, and when they release me, I can go through cardiac rehab, which is a series of just exercises to help my heart function, get back to as much as possible. Right. My heart is extremely healthy. Other than those valves, everything, I didn't have anything in my arteries. No, there was, nothing was clogged, not at all, which was miraculous in my
Yeah.
eyes, because man, I love mac and cheese and things like that.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Barbecue.
Yeah. So it's amazing that none of that stuck with me. So,
Are you on any restrictions now as far as eating, or you can kind of eat whatever you want?
Yeah, I mean, you got to keep the sodium down to keep your blood pressure and all that in check. And I need to, obviously, I'm really trying to make this valve last as long as it can before I have to have another, surgery, which the next one, they're supposed to be able to go in through your leg and inflate another valve inside of this one instead of having to open my chest up. So
I've got a question for you about the valve itself, being that it's a bovine valve. How does our body accept? I've heard about pig parts being used.
mhm.
But I hadn't heard about. You're educating me on this. Like, how does our body accept a piece of meat from a cow?
Right.
Yeah, so the bovine valve is not like the pig valve, which is pig valve is an actual aortic valve from a pig. A bovine valve is made from the heart tissue of a cow to make a valve itself. So they actually take tissue and make an aortic valve, a true work of art, modern medicine, um, and they make it. They actually oversize it so that they can fit. Right now, with the technology they have, they can fit a maximum of two more valves inside of that one, so that you can get it through your leg and continue on.
Huh.
And that's about a 4 or 5 day recovery as opposed to what I've
Wow.
had to go through. So,
Right. And that it may be something in the foreseeable future, down the line,
Yeah.
to go in and just to add to what they've done.
right.
Okay.
Yep. It's pretty incredible.
That
Very,
really is. That really is fascinating.
Yeah.
We've been very fortunate on the show recently to have. We had a doctor on here a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? I don't remember,
yeah.
but he was the first surgeon in the world to perform microsurgery on reattaching a limb.
Yes.
Yeah. You told me about that. Yeah.
I think he would be fascinated about what you just experienced.
Absolutely. I think that would be a good person. He would probably, even though he's an older man, I'm sure he learned a lot from what they've done for you, because that's even advanced as far as his experience is concerned.
I can tell you this, man. I when I switched everything over to Houston to the Heart Institute of Texas, or I guess it's Texas Heart Institute, they are truly amazing, and I happened to get a cardiologist there that is ranked in the top 1% in the world, and he's just an innovator. And again, everything from my new fiance, it was her grandmother that actually made the contact for me. Everything that has happened along this path for me has lined me up to have this surgery and have the absolute best surgeons and best cardiologists. And you know, just I'm so thankful, so grateful for that. So the path that I had to walk down to get here, man, I didn't always understand it, and I was frustrated. Robbie can attest to that. A couple of years ago, I was just kind of like, man, what do I want to do? What should I do here? So he gave me a lot of great advice and guidance on that. Very thankful for that too.
You're very kind. Uh, I don't claim credit for it. I've worked and strived to be a vessel, and if it comes through me, I'm very blessed. I'm very grateful, as you might say, and I'm proud of you, man. I don't care what anybody says. I'm proud of you.
A lot of courage, obviously courage to walk away from habits that were eroding, a lot of your the good things, and then the courage to turn it around, to do what you had to do, for all the right reasons. But I like what you were telling there for a moment there about how all of these, it's like all these highways of influence and love and curiosity and activity converged at one point there at the Texas Heart Institute, and with your family members and people making phone calls and people doing research and just all the things, and even good friends, just with those keeping that energy moving forward. That's an awesome story. Thank you, Jarrod.
Yeah, absolutely.
So going back to your work life, your progression, as a productive member, a contributing member of society, you've done a lot of things, and you have been afforded an opportunity at a place where you work now. If you're able, I'd like you to talk about that, because that position you currently have has also been a huge contributing factor to you having the freedom to get the care that you needed and to be sitting in your living room with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So talk about
That's
that.
right.
Talk about your work-life progression, a brief history of where you've been and how you got to where you are now and where you are now.
Of course. So I've always pretty much worked in the construction industry. And I left my family company, I believe, in 2013. I thought I wanted to go do the exact sheep syndrome job that of Southeast Texas, and nothing against it. They're great careers, great folks. But clock in, clock out, right? Shift work, never had done it in my life. And I was barely survived that for about 2 years before I moved on. And I was always doing residential commercial construction with my family company. But I was given the opportunity to go learn heavy civil construction. And then I moved on from there through, an economic downturn, layoffs. I was able to get another job where I learned marine construction, building ship docks and things like that, and project managed through that. I ran across a lot of folks that were heavy into project controls, and I took I've really loved that because I'm a math guy. I love to see a problem, take it apart, and put it back together to run more efficiently. And so I taught myself a lot of things, but I was also in the presence of some great executives during this time where I was providing them with the information that they needed to make big decisions on for their companies and for their projects. But I always loved being in those rooms with those guys, and men and women both. And I just was a sponge. I just absorbed everything, and through. I would say it's all been through economic downturns, and I think a lot of people in America have experienced this in the last 5 years, where you've just been laid off and you move to somewhere else. And I I had gotten a job with a company that a friend of mine owned, and there was a very high level executive there that had also worked worldwide, that I sat right underneath him, and we worked together. He taught me more in 2 years than I've probably learned in my entire career. Um, and it just every day was just a boatload of lessons and wonderful math problems. So learned business on a much larger scale. Um, Learned how to build things like latest thinking forecast and rolling 12 sales plans. And I don't know, that may all sound like a foreign language, but it is how all of the big players play the game in business. And I happened to run across, again, through economic downturns, I ran across a family owned company, Tubal Cain Industries, about 2 years ago. The Van Hughes family owns it. They started its 44-year-old company, and they're a great family. And they hired me as their executive vice president to help them kind of turn their company around and move things in a little better direction for them, because they have felt the same issues that every company in the world has felt since COVID, severe struggles and things like that. And we're not, we have been able to turn that company around, and I love to do exactly that. I feel like if I could, uh, it's not that I want to hop from one company to another, but if that's all I could do is just take people that are in a problematic state, and help them work out of it, I would love to do that. But I also love the camaraderie of staying somewhere and get, leading by example, things like that in business. But
That's a beautiful journey, a wonderful path. And I don't know if you hear it as you speak it, but you've actually just described the pursuit of your purpose.
yeah.
And that is to be a guy who helps fix those problems and develop those relationships. And you are not all that dissimilar from myself. In fact, I am a self-described catalyst.
Mm.
And that sounds like part of what you do is to go in and kind of turn things around, for lack of a better way to put it.
Well, at the heart of every profession, we're professional problem solvers. That's what we do.
That's it.
And and then it happens from the people with boots on the ground and a tool in their hand all the way up to the thinkers, and evidently you by the good grace of God, you just stayed at it until he put you in those rooms, and I appreciate your heart of a student. That's what I heard a lot of what you were saying. I was in the room with people and I learned so much. And sponge. And I mean, that's a good message for our audience for sure.
We're going to get him a SpongeBob thing for his dad.
Right. Oh, that's our swag, Jay. We're going to get little sponges of Pursuit of Purpose with our logo.
Put our logo on the sponge. There you go.
Thank you, baby. Look at ideas coming today.
I think that that's awesome. I think that probably the best lesson I ever learned in business, period, though, was the fact that, and I tell this often because I've literally experienced every level of business. And what I mean by that is that, my dad made my brother and I carry wood, tote lumber, and sheetrock and everything else for about 7 years before he would let us touch a pencil, much less a tape measure. And I remember him saying, you're going to experience every level. You're not going to skip over anything. And that alone was the best business lesson I've ever learned. Because I have to work with a lot of people every day, not necessarily in my company, but in other companies that you can tell they've skipped a lot of levels and they're very entitled and they don't understand what it takes to get there.
Right.
And
I can remember several examples, some in interviews we've had, some in just the books we read and what have you. And I mean, time after time, they're saying exactly what you just said, is there was an origin. And in that origin, they didn't have a choice but to touch every level, because that's what original growth was about. A guy in a truck showing up at a lot and building how, like your dad or whatever. But over time, when their businesses expanded, they kind of almost like they took that sense of growth for granted, and then they skipped steps in phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, and it eroded, and then they had to basically kind of start all over. And so for you to come in with that history to say no, we're going to break this down to its most basic level and make sure we're not skipping steps.
That's right.
And not just in the company as a whole, but even in individuals. I mean, because like any other company, we want our people that are in the company to promote too. We want you to make a career here.
Absolutely.
I have a big question for you as you sit there in your recliner in your living room,
and all your comfort,
in all your comforts. And I know that you're still on top of your business, and I know that you're still handling things. In fact, we talked about that before the show. That you were in a meeting already this morning handling things. But my question is, are you a success?
I am a success.
You too.
That's good.
I am a success.
So since you are, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, what does it mean to be a success?
What it means is, man, I know that's not a test.
No, it's
pass or fail here. I think what it means is what you went through to get there, and never forgetting that, and always being willing to pass it to the next person, and never taking it for granted, is what makes you successful every day. Because if you ever do, you're not going to be successful. You're going to fail. You're going to fall on your face when you forget what it took. And when you stop allowing yourself and your failures to be the example to help other people succeed, you lose something there. You start losing steps. And it's kind of like me falling into alcoholism. No one starts drinking to think they're going to become an alcoholic, and then it's going to betray you. So every day, the first thing I have to do is be sober, right? To be successful. So there's the steps that you go through, and that's that knowledge of knowing what it takes for you to remain successful is what keeps you successful. But it's people like you guys that constantly remind people like me that you're doing okay. You're okay, man. Don't lose hope. You got to have a little guidance, and it's very important to stay humble enough to accept that guidance. Robbie, when I came to see you a couple of years ago, we hadn't really talked in a long time, but man, when I went there, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing going here. I don't know. It's like, what am I doing? I don't know. At least I get to talk to my old friend, for a little while, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to tell me anything. Man, it was such a humbling experience to hear what do you want and what do you think you need? Because whatever you think you need is out of fear of where you think you need to go. And it's what you want that you need to go do. And man, I mean, I don't know if you'll ever understand what impact those words made on my life. I mean, I couldn't do anything but pause and stop. I stopped looking for a job. I did. And I said, man, I got to figure this out, because what I want to do is, man, I want to go help other people. I want to go play music and but I know I can't make enough money doing that, so, but I'm going to trust the process that something's going to happen, and I'm going to figure all this out. And man, did it ever happen, but it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have stopped. And so, your question was, what makes you successful? I think it's the process. I think it's all the small steps that you take in making the right decision. And I say it in all my writings that I write to people do the next right thing, because there's no right way to do the wrong thing. And so,
amen to that.
That's right. How has thank you. That was a beautiful journey, and just how things have transformed in your own life. But you mentioned the word a few times, and I want to try to put it in the form of a question. How has failure helped you?
Man, failure. I mean, it's the best part of me. It is absolutely the best part of me. It's. I mean, you want to give up, and you think it's just over, and you just don't. You feel worthless. You feel, and I have to tell people all the time. My friends, they, when you're a businessman, you have friends around you that are constantly losing their jobs, that are constantly, it's a vicious cycle out there, and my failures have really helped me to understand that there's nothing there's nothing that can stop you. There is just not. There's nothing that can stop you. It's kind of like people that are trying to get sober. I just tell them the same thing my dad would say: don't ever stop. Don't ever give up. Even if you drink tomorrow, stop. Don't give up. Just try again. Get up and keep moving. But it's easier said than done. I will say this: I went through a divorce, and I didn't miss one day of work, which was stupid on my part. but I mean, there were days when I could barely put one foot in front of the other, and getting out of the parking lot into the office, it was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But it's those, man, when you get on the other side of those times, you look back and you embrace that failure like an old friend. And when you're down, you start to embrace the pain. In my writings also, I talk about feeling every part of the flame. And you asked that question: what have your failures done for you? It's feeling every part of the flame. In a flame, there's different colors because of different temperatures. And if you skip over any part of that flame, you'll never understand what it's like to go through that. So I tell people, stay there for a minute. Feel that.
Let it burn.
So that you don't forget. Yeah, let it burn so that you do not forget.
Well, that's profound. I like that. I like that a lot. I may borrow that, by the way.
Flame. Let me write that down.
Yes. So I tell people, and I know you'll relate to this, but failure is temporary until you accept it as defeat.
Yeah.
So fail forward, fail often, and never fear failure. It's the only way to gain. It's the only way to gain progress. And failure. We talked about how you are precious. You have great value, and the only way to become refined is to go through the process of failure. It's a requirement.
Absolutely true.
So I love the way you described how failure has worked for you.
Yep.
It was the process of your refinement, and it was also the pursuit of your purpose. People talk about, we discussed, happens to, shameless plug or whatever for our name, but people will ask, how do I find my purpose? How do I know, what do I do? And why is that so important? And the truth is that the purpose itself is actually not what's important. Mm-mm. It's only a focus for your direction of travel. Mm-hmm. What's important is the pursuit. Yeah. And the pursuit is what brings you the refinement of failure.
Right.
So you're stepping right through it, man.
Yep, right on.
That's beautiful. And look at where you are.
Yeah.
Look at where you are.
Absolutely.
Who would have imagined 2 years ago when we were, having our discussion, who would have imagined that you'd be sitting where you are now? And I don't mean in your living room in your easy chair talking to us. I just mean in the position of life that you are now.
Right.
Because you are in an enviable position right now, whereas 2 years ago you were in an unenviable position in life.
Yeah. Right.
Or so you thought.
Mm-hmm. So I thought.
Yeah.
So I thought, but um, through my failures, I've it's kind of like picking up the guitar. I guess 6 years ago or 5 years ago, I knew about three chords on a guitar. And I wanted to show my kids something as well, but I also wanted to prove to myself that I could do this. And I sat down and I taught myself how to play guitar. I had been playing piano for a long time, but I was also self-taught on that. But my goal was to be able to play an entire solo show on a guitar for which is normally about 3 hours, and none of that, it's not bragging, it's not any of that. None of that would have happened without me just falling flat on my face and finding something to inspire within myself to move forward, you know, and it's, just sounded like an absolute clown. And I feel terrible for my kids to have to have heard that awful stuff coming out for so long. But now they get to come see me, and I, play with some of the greatest musicians, not only in our area, but I think in our nation.
And your
Some of
dad being
these.
one of them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And some of these people that I'm getting to play with are, they're superstars, man. It's amazing, and I love it. And but I never would have accomplished that without the failure.
Right.
I just don't believe it. I don't think I would have ever had the motivation at all. Why? Because you're just succeeding, you think. So how much success can you really have? Well, you got to fail to find out,
Yeah, you mentioned about falling on your face, and what you were describing would by most people be considered a rock bottom moment, or maybe
Yeah.
even a collection of rock bottom moments. And we've had some realization about that. And I'm a person of faith, and I know you are too. And it's really hard to build on anything except rock bottom.
Mhm.
So it's a requirement that we have that rock bottom moment. So we have a foundation with which to build the stupendous edifice of what our purpose truly is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the opportunity that has come to you from that rock bottom time.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love your humility, Jarrod. I love it so much. And I love the grace with which you tell your story. You articulate it so well. I hope that you will publish an autobiography someday.
I've been asked to do that. I don't know why, but
Well, I think it'd be a worthy read.
I agree.
I encourage you to do it.
I agree.
So we're drawing to a close, and your story has been beautiful, inspirational, and we are very honored to have been able to feature you as a guest and to walk our audience through your journey. There are a few questions that we ask traditionally of every guest that we have on the show, but I'd like to offer Chuck the opportunity to ask you anything he's got.
Well, it's more of a comment because I'll leave the final questions to Robbie. But thank you, man. Thank you for coming on and telling us the entire breadth of the story. And of course, some of I think the more impacting are going to be some of the things that have happened in recent years and how you faced it. And that is beyond inspirational. I'm going to use the word inspirational, but I don't even think that's enough. And so thank you. I'm proud of you. And I'm going to use the word anyway, even though your dad told me not to. I'm proud of you. And I'm proud of the influence you're going to have on a lot of people. And thank you for allowing our platform to be a part of that influence that you're having. And keep it up, man. I look forward to maybe circling back at another time and seeing where you are next, Yeah,
absolutely.
Maybe learning new songs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jarrod. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Is there anything that we didn't ask that you'd like to tell the audience? Anything about you that we missed that's a key point, that's important, that you would like to share?
I think that the only thing that I wanted to share with any public platform is this: I'm having more fun in my life than I have ever had. And I'm doing it sober. Okay. And I just know the struggle that our society, especially people my age and younger, are having with alcoholism. And I really, really want to, man, just encourage you to and let you know that I'm having more fun, way more fun. I mean, I'm cutting up. I act like a total goofball in my music shows, everything, and it's so much better, man, to wake up and know what you did and you
Right.
had
To
purpose.
remember, yeah.
You had
Mhm.
purpose behind it, and you what you're the message you're sending your children and everybody else. I never realized how much potential I had until I gave up all my crutches and uh and have to give them up every day, bear that cross, as you would say, you know.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
thank you.
You caught me on something, and I wanted to ask it earlier. So I'm gonna divert slightly about it. I've got a question, a musical question for you. And I mean, it's a bit of a disappointment that I'm going to have to ask about this, but I hear you talk about the guitar, and I know you sing. I've seen these things happen, and you talked about the piano. But what happened to the trumpet, man?
Right? Yeah,
I
Dusty
mean,
Morris and I
you
were
and Dusty
on
were like the jazz band in middle school and all that stuff. Remember that, Mr. Baker and
right.
everything? We go in there early mornings and jam
Yeah.
out, baby. We were.
Yeah. Yeah. It was, man, one of my greatest regrets is selling that trumpet just a few years back. But then again, I sold it to, well, Ross Boothman helped me,
Mhm.
get a deal because it was just sitting there. But then I think about the student that has it now, and I think that's just wonderful.
That's beautiful.
That trumpet got to go to all state and all things, and so now
That's
that
awesome.
person, yeah, yeah. So my voice became really is my main instrument. Um, it's I don't know that I told you this, but I got to train with Brett Manning in Nashville, Tennessee. Brett Manning is probably the most popular vocal teacher in the world. He's taught just about anybody you could think of as far as major artists. And when I was
Mhm.
about 19 years old, when my dad took me to Nashville that time. Actually, I was at that Embassy Records recording convention, sitting in a room full of about 1,000 people, and Brett was critiquing vocalists, right? So he's listening to CDs and he gets to mine and I'm shaking in my boots, and because he only plays about 20 seconds of them and then he critiques people and he's pretty rough on some folks, and the lady that went before me was amazing and he was pretty hard on her. But Brett Manning got to mine and he played it and it started skipping and I said, "Oh crap." And he said, "Well, are you on any other songs on the CD?" I said, "Yeah, just go to this one." And he put it on and he played it for about a minute and a half.
Wow.
And yeah, it was and then he stopped it and he asked me to stand and he said, "What's your name?" And of course I'm about to pass out. and and I said, "Jarrod Meehan." And he said, "Everybody in this room, write that man's name down because one day you're going to say I sat in the same room with that guy at Embassy Records
Wow.
recording convention." And he invited me to his home and where his personal studio is. And he also sent my dad and me to Soundstage Studios and RCA Studios, which my dad was a recording artist in RCA, right, back in his day. So it was really neat experience. But that's kind of what happened to all that, man. My voice became my main instrument, and I got to be vocally trained by him and carried his exercises with me here, and that was very neat guy. He's got a 5 octave range, so he can sing lower than me and as high
Wow.
as Mariah Carey.
That's
So
insane.
And I still retain about 4 octaves.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That's an amazing story. I didn't know that the trumpet question would lead into so much, but I'm really glad it did. That was great.
What an experience.
Got a good smile out of it too.
Yeah.
So the two questions that I typically traditionally close the show with are these. If there's somebody out there watching or listening to this episode and your story, and let's say they're young, late teens, early 20s, and they're inspired by you. They want to follow in similar steps to yours, maybe a parallel path. What advice might you give them?
Don't take the easy road. Just don't. Because it's the path of least resistance is just normally not the right one. And that's what I see more than anything in this generation. The ability to get information immediately is usually false. It's kind of like a belief. What is it? Half of what you see and none of what you hear.
Yeah.
The technology has offered some great things to us, but for this generation, it's pretty rough on them, because everything that's in front of them is usually to make them chase rabbits. I haven't had one pop up during this little interview, right? But normally there's a million things that you can chase in your life. Chase what your goal is, and don't chase the rabbits. Turn the news off. Follow truths, absolute truths that are solidified, that you can back up yourself, and that'll straighten your path a lot better.
That's good advice. Very, very good. Very, very profound. Mm-hmm. And the final question that I ask is my favorite question. And it is, if you could go back in time and whisper some sage advice, some profound advice into your own ear when you were, 16, 17 years old, and pretend for a moment that you'd actually listen to yourself, but go back in time and give yourself some advice, what would you say to young Jarrod?
I would encourage him to be more courageous, to stop accepting what people may say about you, or what you think they may say about you. With music and things like that, just go for it. Just be you, stop worrying about what the world thinks, and just go and be you, because as you know, Robbie and Chuck, you guys, we've all been through this in our life. I see it in my own kids. My kids have a voice, but things like choir and band and popularity contests and all the things that just stump potential. It's absolutely awful, the culture we live in, and I would just tell myself to go for it and shine like I'm supposed to, because now I stand on stages and everybody's like, oh, it's great and all that. You create moments in people's lives, and you could have done that your entire life, but you didn't, because you were worried about what somebody else was thinking. So if I could tell myself anything, I would be like, man, be who you are, because that's a great person.
That's beautiful, Jarrod.
That is.
That is so profound.
Yes.
Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sharing your life with us, your story with our audience, and for being a part of the pursuit of our purpose, because you have been. You've been a part of the pursuit of my purpose, for sure. And thank you for your graceful words about me from a couple of years ago. What that goes to show everybody in the audience is the words that you say, everything that comes out of your mouth and everything you do, the actions you take, they're all seeds.
Yes.
All of them,
right.
whether they be good or bad, they will all produce fruit of some kind. So be careful what you say. Be careful what you do. Yes, be respectful of yourself and of everyone else with your actions and your words, because they have an impact. And we love you, Jarrod.
Yeah, man. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate you.
And I don't care. Your dad can give me that look if he wants to, but I'm proud of you. Okay, I'm proud to call you my friend. And we're going to go ahead and sign off there. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of The Pursuit of Purpose. Thank you for allowing us to become a part of the pursuit of your purpose. I'm Rob.
I'm Chuck.
And we've had with us
Jarrod Meehan.
Yeah. Y'all have a great day, and we will talk soon.